The following program has been arranged by the Division of Game and Fish.
Here is the story of the Bluegrass State's great outdoors.
This is Kentucky Afield.
Kentucky Afield.
Welcome to Kentucky Afield.
Kentucky Afield.
More than 50 years. And still fit as a fiddle.
This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Bagman.
Look at the calendar. The best time of the year is here. Spring fever is setting in as more and more of us get outside and soak up the fun of the sun. What does spring signal to you? Fishing, boating, golf, baseball, hiking, camping, gardening. We go inside outdoors this week with Seth Wheat of the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. We have a state full of outdoor options all in the next hour on Kentucky Afield Radio. Who's ready for a boatload of laughs? Give it up for Funny Sonny!
Thanks. I found it. A use for a life jacket. A pillow! Hey, I'm not going to wear a life jacket. I know how to swim. How can it hurt you? It's just water.
This chick's hysterical.
Funny Sonny, everyone. She'll be here all week. Maybe. Kentucky conservation officers remind you.
Your life jacket's got your back.
April 30th is a day you should circle on your calendar, but so is today. Sportsmen and women, you need to get your name in the hat for fabulous Kentucky elk hunting. April 30th is the absolute last day to enter. So while you're thinking about it, and you know you want to, register today. The Kentucky Fish and Wildlife website is the one and only place to register, and it's as close as your PC. 900 names will be drawn. Yours could be one. Kentucky elk hunting. Register at fw.ky.gov.
This is Charlie Bagman, and welcome to Kentucky Afield Radio, my home address for the next hour. It is springtime in Kentucky, a time when men and women and kids crawl out from underneath those sweaters and coats and long pants and throw their arms around the warmer weather. There are many ways we embrace the outdoors around the Bluegrass State, and that's what today's show is all about. Our friend Seth Wheat is here from the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. And Seth, welcome to the show, and I must say, I love the tie.
Thank you, Charlie. Happy to be here.
What is the occasion besides just coming to see Kentucky Afield Radio?
Just coming to see you. I want nothing but the best.
I don't know if this is true anymore, but the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, back in the day, their announcers would wear tuxedos. Even though they couldn't be seen, the philosophy was at the BBC, as you look, so shall you sound.
Interesting. I wonder if that holds true.
I don't know, but that was the dress code at the BBC, and I'm glad to see you have followed it. You got the memo.
I have not hit the tuxedo level. This is not
the tie, though, doesn't mix with adventure tourism.
No.
You know that.
Oftentimes it doesn't. Yeah, sometimes I wear, different costumes depending on the day.
It's spring in Kentucky, finally.
Finally, yes.
Is this Office of Adventure Tourism's favorite time of year or when?
Honestly, I don't think I could pick a favorite. And that's one of my favorite things about Kentucky is we have the 4 distinct seasons. And just about when you start to get tired of one particular season, then you're ready to roll into the next one. Mm-hmm. So spring and fall are pretty tough to beat, though, just because you don't have either extreme, and sometimes the storm season can play havoc on your spring plans, but more often than not, you're good to go in the springtime. So like I said, spring and fall definitely are tough to beat, but I really do like all 4.
I guess let me just ask, we do have an administration, the Bevan administration. This is a government agency. Mm-hmm. What are the new directives, the new initiatives that Executive Director Wilson and you kind of have going forward?
Our biggest initiative, Charlie, and what we've worked on the most has been to establish our Kentucky Trail Towns. And we've talked about them on here before, and those are communities all over the state that happen to be located nearby these great outdoor resources. We don't want to create a bunch of Gatlinburgs all over Kentucky. That's not what I'm after. But what I want to create are communities that enjoy the same kind of relationship that Gatlinburg enjoys with the Great Smoky Mountains. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, those two are synonymous with each other. When you think of one, you all automatically think of the other. Well, when we looked across Kentucky, there weren't very many communities that enjoyed anything close to that kind of relationship with whatever outdoor resource, be it a national park or a state park, that they were located near. What community is the gateway to the Red River Gorge? What community is the gateway to Land Between the Lakes or to Cumberland Gap or Mammoth Cave? So the idea and what we've been working on is to get these communities set up to be better destinations for the outdoor recreational tourist. We want them to be able to provide the goods and the services and the experiences, most importantly, that these people look for when they travel to hike or to cycle or mountain bike or kayak or even fish and hunt. Anytime somebody comes to Kentucky to do something outdoors and fun, we want them to be able to visit a community and have a great experience, go back home, tell their friends and family.
Hometown feel.
Absolutely. It's a way to tie in some other great tourism initiatives into adventure tourism, because these people, when they travel, they want to eat local food. They want to shop in local stores. So it's a great way for the adventure tourism world to connect with our Arts Council, to connect with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture and the Kentucky Proud program. And it's just a great way for a lot of different initiatives and a lot of different focuses to come together in a nucleus and provide for the most authentic Kentucky experience that we can.
Well, you can't just snap your fingers and have a town become these things.
No.
How many do you have so far?
We have 13 certified towns so far. We have about 25 more, give or take, that are currently working on it, and not all of them will become certified. It's a given. It is definitely a quality over quantity type of initiative that we've got going.
Name one, for example.
Okay, sure. How about the town of Livingston in Rockcastle County? It was one of our first.
So when you go into Livingston today, and it's a certified trail town, what makes it different from the Livingston of, say, 25 years ago?
The first step that a trail town works on, that a community works on, is they have to make a connection, a physical connection to the natural resource. So Livingston sits in the heart of the Daniel Boone National Forest, and the Sheltowee Trace, which is Kentucky's longest hiking trail, runs just outside of their community. The Rockcastle River runs almost right through the middle of downtown. So what Livingston had to do was connect to these two resources. So they've built connector trails into the National Forest, and they've worked on improving their river access to the Rockcastle in town so people can come to the community and then find their way to the trails. You have to think logistically about how people are going to move to the park and to the community. So that's the first thing they've done, is built these trail connections. The second thing they've done is reevaluate themselves as a community and see what can we be doing better to make ourselves a tourism destination. So they've done things like renovate the old Livingston High School, which has been closed for, several years. I believe it closed down back in the mid-90s. So the community took this building over and they have made it their Trail Town Visitor Center. It's been a great story, not only of a Trail Town story, but it's a great revitalization story for the town. And you can go into this old high school and you can rent your canoes, you can rent your mountain bikes, you can book a trip, you can find out information about one of 2 restaurants in town now, where previously there was only one, and it was on the verge of closing. Well, the community rallied around that restaurant, and now it is doing much better, and people are, a second one is getting ready to open. So it seems more vibrant, I believe, and I think that the folks down there would agree with that. The mayor and several community members in Livingston really jumped on board with this idea, and they really put all they had into it, and you can tell when you visit Livingston now. You can feel it when you're down there.
The community itself makes an investment far beyond just putting up a T-shirt shop.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Well, congratulations on this, and I'm looking forward to stumbling into some of these trail towns in Kentucky. My wife and I travel this summer. Your Office of Adventure Tourism, you say it's part of the tourism cabinet.
Yes, sir.
And I'm still trying to get past the fact that it's just a you and maybe, a 2-person business. There's so much going on in Kentucky. Do the canoe liveries and the zip line companies around the state, horseback riding and fishing and hunting and you name it, do they all sort of report into you? Do they contribute to the office? It relies on the partnerships from everyone out in the state, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. No one reports to us in any type of official capacity. We have we're not an agency with any type of authority to oversee anyone. But you hit the nail on the head there. It's all about the partnerships we establish with all the private and public entities throughout Kentucky where you can do these things. We see our role in adventure tourism to promote and develop more opportunities for outdoor recreation all over Kentucky. And so we work hand in hand with as many of the partners as we can work with. Almost all the canoe liveries, or I should say it like this, all of the outfitting services and retail places and public places that we know about, we try to work with in Kentucky. And thankfully there are new ones opening up all the time. I think that's an indication that's good for adventure tourism in Kentucky. And so, we'll reach out to those folks and say, hey, how can we help you all in what you're doing? Let us host your information on our website. If you have any special events coming up, let us host those on our free online interactive calendar. So it's our job to work with the partners all over the state and try to craft a strategy for the entirety of the state moving forward so we can capitalize on this.
The music is playing. We need to take a break. We are talking to Seth Wheat with the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. More fun just ahead on Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio. I'm Charlie Baglin. Make this the spring you try something new outdoors. Now that scares some people. They cringe. They find any excuse not to. Now that doesn't mean hike the Appalachian Trail from Maine to Georgia or climb Mount Everest. Just simple fun stuff. Make this the spring your son or daughter is introduced to Mother Nature in a new way. Go camping or fishing, backyard wildlife projects, build a birdhouse. Seth Wheat is with me from the Office of Adventure Tourism. And Seth, you have a search engine to find these types of things that is second to none. Tell me about it.
The search engine that has been developed for the entire Kentucky tourism world, we've tried to structure it in such a way that you either know what activity you want to participate in, or you know where you are going and want to know what you can do while you're there. And so generally we find that that's how most people travel. They know they want a mountain bike, so where can I mountain bike in Kentucky? Or they know they're coming to Elizabethtown and they want to know, should I bring my mountain bike? What is there to do around Elizabethtown? So either way, we've tried to make it as user-friendly as possible, and we've also put a lot of work here recently into making it more mobile-friendly.
What's on the calendar for 2016?
Well,
let's talk about what's going on in the spring, like into June.
Okay, yeah, sure. We've got a really busy 2016, and we'll start at the national level. 2016 marks the centennial for our national parks, for the National Park Service for the entire country. So we are very fortunate to have several national park properties here in Kentucky in mid-April, beginning April 16th. That starts National Parks Week. So parks all over the country are offering free entries. Many parks require an entry fee to visit. Some do not. I believe most of ours in Kentucky do not, but if you want to go visit one that does, that's the week to do it, is National Parks Week.
National parks in Kentucky, I'm thinking Mammoth Cave,
Yep.
Cumberland Gap National Historic Park.
Correct.
Where beyond that?
Abraham Lincoln Birthplace. We also have a piece of the Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area, which is run by the Park Service.
Certainly.
And we also have the historic Trail of Tears, which is run by the Park Service, that comes through western Kentucky, and Hopkinsville has got a museum there to celebrate that. We also have a piece of Fort Donaldson National Historic Park out near Land Between the Lakes in far western Kentucky. The majority of that park lies in Tennessee, but there was one encampment that was in Kentucky, and so we have that property in western Kentucky also.
I was not aware. I knew it was those first two I'd mentioned.
Yeah, right.
But I just wasn't aware of all the other smaller historic parks.
Sure.
Last year, I remember you had Kentucky Outdoor Adventure Games. Anything at all similar to that this year?
We're working on it. We were very happy with the way that the Outdoor Adventure Games went in 2015. We had 13 different partner events, and we talked about it on your show here. And all of the partners that I've communicated with afterwards said they were happy to be a part of it. They enjoyed the additional recognition they got for their events. They were happy to help us showcase all the different activities you can do in Kentucky, which is, the main point of doing the adventure games. So we've been talking about it on our end, and I think there is definite interest in pursuing that again in 2016. So hopefully when you have me back on in the summertime, I can announce the lineup of events and everything we're going to be doing. So,
one thing, Seth, I'll just tell you this right now. 95% of the things we're talking about in one ear and out the other. What people will remember, though, is the enthusiasm and the excitement and the joy that we use to talk about these things.
Sure.
And they will say, hey, when I think of Kentucky, I do think of a place to go and have fun outdoors.
Absolutely.
And I may just go and find my own adventure.
Sure.
Nothing in the world wrong with that.
Absolutely. We encourage it.
The Kentucky Unbridled Adventure Guide.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed on your website, I was searching through, that looks like it would be a long list of things to do.
It is a long list of things to do.
I've got to compliment you on this coffee mug you have with you. You can hear you set it down every now and then. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's a big mug.
It is.
A quart size at least.
I think it's 30 ounces.
30 ounces. Will that get you through the interview? You think you'll need to go in the kitchen and refill?
This should get me through the interview. If not, we've got problems. Hopefully it'll get me through the entirety, up until lunch.
That is a dude. The Unbridled Adventure Guide.
Yes.
Tell me cover to cover.
It is basically a print version of all the things you can find on our website. We think there's still value in, being able to put something in somebody's hand that they can flip through at their leisure, take back home with them, and it's a great way to see all the different things and all the different places you can go for adventures in Kentucky. So,
I think one of the best times to plan travel is while you're traveling.
Sure.
And while you're in the car. My wife and I took a road trip. We were in Pittsburgh a couple of weekends ago. Of course, we all use our phones now or tablets to look at Google Maps and know where we're going. I actually picked up an atlas. I sat there and I thumbed through it and I read the ads and said, I want to go here. Now I want to go there. Now I want to see this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing to have with you while you're traveling so that you can sort of plan some things to do in the future.
We think so. It covers so many different things. We've got all of our fishing and hunting guides that we're aware of in there. We've got all of the different parks, national parks, state parks. So we think it's a pretty neat thing to have. You can look through, and then when you find something you like, you've got a phone number. You've also got a web address there, so you can hop back into the 21st century and go find out more information.
When I was looking at your website and your search engine, I put in one word, adventure. Well, and maybe I put in a couple of dates, like now through June, like we're talking about.
Sure.
A few things popped up. Let's talk about some specific things. You mentioned mountain biking a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Bike Moorhead, June 18th. That's a beautiful part of the state.
It is.
You have Cave Run up in there, Daniel Boone National Forest. What can you say about Bike Moorhead?
That event is also a partner event for this year's Kentucky Century Challenge. The Kentucky Century Challenge is a road cycling compilation of events that are happening all over Kentucky that have been going on the Century Challenge has been going on for 4 years now. And Bike Moorhead is the newest partner event on that. Moorhead is also one of our Kentucky trail towns, so we're very excited for them to come on board with the Century Challenge. And the idea behind this is people can register to participate in these events. They're not races, they're just cycling events. And all of the partner events offer 100-mile century rides. If you complete at least 3 out of the 4 century rides in these events, then you get a special edition jersey that you can't buy anywhere. There's several other rules that go along with it. You have to register online. If you complete all 4 century rides and you're one of the first, I believe, 800 people to register, then you get your jersey for free. If you only complete 3 out of 4, then you get it for a reduced cost. But it's a super neat looking jersey, and we have gotten such good feedback on this event the past 4 years, and the cyclists that participate, they love it. They love coming to Kentucky multiple times a year. It's a win for us because of what I just said. It gets these people back in the state for multiple times.
Where are they coming from?
They're coming from all over, and each ride, we'll go through the rides real quick. The Redbud ride in London is the first one, and that's April 23rd. The Horsey 100 happens in Georgetown. That is Memorial Day weekend, so that'll be May 27th through the 29th this year. Bike Moorhead, the one we were just talking about, is June 18th. The Hub City Tour in Elizabethtown is September 10th. So we have a pretty good distribution across the central to eastern half of the state there. They all pull in people from several states. But, you know, the folks in Moorhead are going to pull more from Virginia and West Virginia being on the far eastern edge of the state. The folks down in London, I know they get a ton of cyclists from Tennessee coming up. But like I said, each ride, especially the Redbud and the Horsey 100 has been happening for over 30 years. So they have a really dedicated following, and they have a great national presence in the cycling community. So they'll get people from all across the country. So they're coming from all over, and they're coming to ride in Kentucky, and we have...
Well, let me interrupt you. Are these road races? Are they mountain bike races through trails? Where?
These are road
events.
Yeah, road events. Road cycling.
And they offer both on the road and...
No, all of these, I believe, unless the Bike Moorhead also has a mountain bike component, and I'm not sure, and I don't have that in my notes here, but the other three I know for sure are all road events specific. They will offer different distances. You know, it's not just the 100-mile route. You can ride, in many cases, 10, 20, 50, and also the 100, but they're all for on-road cycling.
A friend of mine works with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife as a teacher for conservation education. He's one of the officers who will show up at schools once a month or whatever it is and teach conservation, a counselor at conservation camps. And he's a cyclist, has been his entire life. Gary Rogers, Mr. Rogers, and greatest guy ever.
Sure.
And loves to ride his bike. I think he told me at a minimum he rides 20 miles a day. He's into it. So, and this is road bike, mountain bike. And he was telling me once that a great way to see wildlife is to ride your mountain bike along trails.
Sure.
And you can sneak up on the craziest things. You know, you'll see foxes and deer and different birds. It's a great way to get out and explore the Kentucky countryside on a bike.
Absolutely. And, we're fortunate to have some really good mountain bike trail systems at some places that have great wildlife populations. Down around Green River Lake, there's an extensive mountain bike system there. Out at Land Between the Lakes, they've got a mountain biking system. So, yeah, I'd say he's right on. I'd say that's a great way to experience the wildlife while you're doing an activity that you really enjoy.
Outdoor recreation in the Kentucky springtime. Whitewater, blue water, and more in the next half hour, plus a fishing report just ahead. This is Charlie Baglin. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Baglin back on Kentucky Afield Radio. If you'd like to hear this show again, it's pretty easily done. Just go to our Facebook page, type in Kentucky Afield Radio, and you'll find us. Like us, and there you can find the weekly link. Also, we're on YouTube. Just put in Kentucky Afield Radio. We are a podcast as well on iTunes. Back with more adventures around Kentucky. First up, our fishing report.
Cummins with your Southwest Kentucky fishing report. Barren River Lake is in the single digits. White bass hybrids have been good in the headwater areas of the lake, like Beaver Creek, Skaggs Creek, Barren River, and Long Creek. White bass will be sprinkled throughout these areas. White crappie fishing has been good throughout the lake in the back ends of coves and embayments with minnows and jigs. Green River Lake is just a few feet from Summer Pool. Good white bass fishing has been found up in the Robinson Creek area above 676 Bridge, Green River above Snake Creek, and Casey Creek above Arnold's Landing. Muskie fishing at Green has been good in the larger embayments and coves, with spinnerbaits jerkbaits and swim baits. As always, good luck and good fishing. Be sure your life jacket's got your back.
This is Kevin Fry with your Eastern Area Fisheries Report. Look for good trout fishing opportunities at tailwaters below Army Corps lakes. April stockings occurring last week and this week. Also, the timing there is good for white bass running up below these dams. Although water temps of lakes warming slow this spring, most bass tournaments having good results at present. Yatesville, Dewey, and Fish Trap Lakes all having good numbers of keeper fish in tournaments. Crappie reports continue to be good for larger fish. Depth varies depending on which lake, but fishing was good in shoreline areas at all area lakes. At Buckhorn Lake, with increasing lake pool, now have the ramp usable at Marina. This gives another boat access in addition to the one at the dam. Trolling main lake points and edges of flats will provide some musky fishing possibilities.
This is Jeff Crosby with the Central Fisheries District Fishing Report. Fishing across the district continues to be very good. Lake temperatures are running in the upper 50s to low 60s. Crappie fishing across the district is very good right now, especially at Taylorsville Lake, but good catches are being taken at Harrington, Kidman Lake, Bolts, Beaver Lakes are also very good. Crappie can be found along shoreline cover, especially large fallen trees. Fish with live minnows in 4 to 7 foot of water around this cover or cast crappie jigs at the same areas. Also, hybrid striped bass and white bass have been staging in the upper portions of Harrington and Taylorsville Lake. And finally, largemouth bass are moving shallow in preparation for the spawn. So grab a pole and enjoy some great spring fishing. Hope to see you on the water.
April 30th is a day you should circle on your calendar, but so is today. Sportsmen and women, you need to get your name in the hat for fabulous Kentucky elk hunting. April 30th is the absolute last day to enter. So while you're thinking about it, and you know you want to, register today. The Kentucky Fish and Wildlife website is the one and only place to register, and it's as close as your PC. 900 names will be drawn. Yours could be one. Kentucky elk hunting. Register at fw.ky.gov.
You are listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. I'm Charlie Baglin. Back in our second half hour with the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. Mr. Seth Wheat, Mr. Adventure himself, is in the studio. One thing I noticed, Seth, I was looking through your search engine. Adventures, again, I put in the keyword adventure. Mm-hmm. Adventures, it came up. Adventures in altitude, adventures in caving, adventures in rock climbing, adventures in tree climbing, zip line, adventures in fill in the blank. There's a lot of adventures out there. Is that the way you had the site designed?
Yes. On our website, we have to categorize everything. So we have a category called trailblazing. That covers hiking, mountain biking, horseback riding, ATVs, off-road vehicles. We have water adventures, which covers paddling and fishing and boating. And then we have our adventures in altitude. And so that's literally your rock climbing, you're going up, or you're caving, so you're going down, or you're zip lining, so you're up in the air. So that kind of covers all those different, sometimes people call them some of the extreme adventures, but it is, that is absolutely by design. So I'm glad you enjoyed that.
What is the most dangerous adventure in the state?
You know, rock climbing is one of those things that is surprisingly very safe in terms of the number of injuries, but I know where you're coming from because I think I'm right there with you. I have rock climbed only a handful of times, and I can really see how people enjoy it. But
here I am, and it sounds like I'm talking to Don because I'm not, because there are skilled people out there.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, Baglin, if you just knew a little bit more about it, you wouldn't be so nervous.
That's true.
And that's we fear what we don't know much about.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things I'm saying is I should learn more about rock climbing, and then maybe I'd be more in touch with it. As it stands right now, I'd love to photograph.
It's funny you mentioned that right after we discussed the rock climbing, because I was reading an article the other day about how do you capture the best shots in the sport of rock climbing. And, the best photographers, or some that are considered the best, are those that are willing to also not just stand at the base of the wall or the base of the crag and shoot upwards at the climbers, but to actually get up with the climbers. Yeah. You know what I mean? They'll climb also with their camera, with their equipment, or they'll go to the top of the line and, take the photographs looking down. And it offers a unique challenge. Photography to me is challenging enough, but when you've got to put in that kind of effort to make sure you get to the place you need to be to get the best shots, I think that those folks really go above and beyond.
How about this? You take your GoPro, and you set it on like 30 frames a second, and you hope that the shutter speed is fast enough so it doesn't blur, and you just sort of just throw it up there.
You throw it up there. Now, that's a good idea.
There you go.
You may be onto something there.
And it's a yes, I was there. I climbed right along with him. I was
right with him, eye level.
I'm gaining no points, but I think it would work. Adventures in water. Did we talk about that? We were just talking about fishing and paddleboarding and that, but you talked about some real adventure for the spring. And we get the spring rains in here. Whitewater rafting, whitewater kayaking.
Yeah, we have.
That'll get your adrenaline flowing.
It will. And I have done those activities a few more times than I have done rock climbing, and it is absolutely an adrenaline pumping experience. We have several outfitters that can put you on some great rivers and creeks in Kentucky, and no matter what your experience level or what type of experience you're after, whether you want something that is very extreme, and we're talking, Class 4, Class 5, maybe even Class 5 plus, we can find something for you. If you want something more laid back, maybe you want Class 2, Class 3, just a little bit of action, something to keep you interested, but nothing too strenuous. We can find you rivers for that. We can find outfitters.
Explain what the class system, what's that mean?
Well, it is a way that rivers or creeks are rated in terms of technical difficulty.
So how much whitewater there is, I guess?
The higher the number, the more the whitewater. The more difficult the river is to run, the more experienced you need to be. Really, that's the thing to take away from it, I think, if you can only take one thing, is that, the higher the class number, the more experience you need to be on that style of water, to be on that river. And
a Class 5 is one you better be experienced.
Absolutely.
And you still might flip.
Yes, absolutely. It is, that's really for the best of the best. And, of course, it depends on, rafting, with a group raft is a little different than a solo or in a kayak. But, yeah, you really want to be experienced when you're on the Class 5 or the Class 5 plus, no doubt.
Whitewater rafting isn't always just for scenery, such as, say, the Clarks River in western Kentucky. No whitewater there.
Right.
But if you go to Elkhorn Creek, say in Franklin County, the Red River, there are a few others. What comes to your mind of the best places for whitewater in this state?
Well, the best places for whitewater, two of them really pop into my head. I'm sorry, let's say three of them. The first will be the Russell Fork River in far eastern Kentucky, in Pike County, and in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
You pretty much grew up on that river, didn't you?
Well, not this part, not on the extreme whitewater part. That was above me. Maybe at some point I'll get to that level, but I don't know. The Russell Fork is nice because it's broken down into sections. The gorge section of that river is where we have some of the most technical creek-style paddling, Class 5 plus whitewater. And you will get there sometimes in the spring with the rains and the runoff, but every October is when that river really shines. But as far as premier whitewater, that one jumps to the top of my list. Another one that I think about is the Big South Fork of the Cumberland River.
Certainly.
It is a great river in the heart of that National River and Recreation area. We have a long-time outfitter down there, headquartered out of Corbin, who leads rafting trips and will rent you boats to go on your own adventure. Another one that comes up that is not quite as well known as those two is the Rockcastle River. We mentioned the community of Livingston earlier, and it flows through Livingston, and it's a very mild river there. There are a few ripples. You may find some Class 2 water up in that stretch. When you get to this area called the Narrows, it's when the Rockcastle River really takes on a new life, and then it becomes very technical, Class 4 at least, water. It's in the middle of the Daniel Boone National Forest. It's very remote. You've got to travel these difficult Forest Service roads to be able to access it, and it's for people who are good at this type of thing, for people that are experienced paddlers who are looking for a real on their own type adventure, the Rockcastle is one they should definitely check out.
I guess I ought to be careful not to send the message that if you're going to go enjoy the rivers of Kentucky, you better be experienced paddler and whitewater kayaker, because that's not the case at all. If you're going to do whitewater, it might help you to have a lesson or two or know how to roll a kayak.
Correct.
But they're so beautiful rivers. We have a writer for Kentucky Afield magazine, Lee McClellan. If you've seen his article, his series on Blue Water Trails.
Absolutely.
Great places to paddle a canoe and fish.
Now we're getting into more my level of experience.
he will tell you exactly where to go. And there's a couple of dozen or more of these things. I've lost count. But I think you can Google that, Blue Water Trails.
Absolutely.
And you'll find the name Lee McClellan along with it. That's a great thing to add to your list this summer, even if you only do it once.
Oh, absolutely. And you all do such a good job of, one, you provide a very detailed PDF map that people can download and print. It shows all the access points, all the other significant features of the river, and the descriptions of each of these trips. It makes it so easy for folks who have never been to a body of water to go down and have an enjoyable experience. And not all, but most of the rivers or creeks highlighted in the Blue Water Trail series, anyone, is capable of paddling and fishing on those streams.
Family adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a lot of what we've been talking about would be for the individual adventurer.
Sure.
Just you or me. How does family adventure fit into the Office of Adventure Tourism?
We want to provide experiences for as many folks as we can, be it a very young, active college student who's looking to get out and burn off some energy on the weekend, or if it's a family of 3, 4, or 5 who are looking to, whether they live in Kentucky and just want to see a new place, or hopefully if they're from a neighboring state or farther away, they want to come see Kentucky. And so we want to provide experiences for them also. One thing that is great for families is the Family Adventure Quest that's offered by our state parks. And it's a way to encourage people to visit all of the different parks. And it's not only about visiting the parks, but it's about learning something new that was not readily known, or having an experience that isn't as well known at all of our state parks. And you snap a picture of yourself doing all these different activities with your family, and then you're able to, you can qualify for the state park passport, and you can get, I believe, gift certificates for our state parks if you're able to do all of them.
It's a reward system.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And that's the Family Adventure Quest. And it's going on whenever the family wants to join, right?
That's correct. It lasts all year long. Parks.ky.gov.
Has family travel changed, do you think? I remember back when I was a little boy, and maybe when you were a little boy, there was this quintessential, we go to the Smokies. We have our photograph taken by the sign. Or we go to wherever, and we always have the picture taken by the sign. Dad's going to golf. Mom and the kids are going to swim. And picnic. Do you see that changing?
Well, I'll say I see that changing for a lot of people, yes. I remember growing up, we do the beach once a year. We'd either do it spring break or we do it in the middle of the summer. Elaine Wilson, who we spoke about earlier, she remembers when you load up the family station wagon and you travel across the country, and the kids would be bouncing around in the back, and you'd have your AAA card, and you'd stop at all the roadside motels and hit all the national parks. And, I think that's such a romanticized story to me that I think so many people can relate to. And then when I was growing up, it was we loaded up the Suburban and we headed to the beach, for 7 days. I believe, especially some of the younger generation people that are coming up and starting their careers and are starting their own families, I think they've seen all these places on the internet, and it's given us the ability to experience things in a limited way that we've not been able to experience before. And I think as these folks are starting out in their adult lives, that they're wanting to have those experiences themselves. And so I think we're starting to see people not just go to the beach every year and to travel around and learn what is Kentucky all about. I've heard about the Derby, and I know they make bourbon, but what else is there to do there? I want to go hear authentic bluegrass music in the home of bluegrass music. I want to go to the Red River Gorge and climb because I've read about it in Climbing Magazine or I've seen it online. I think there is a definite shift in the way we travel, and I think that we don't necessarily, at least I don't try to see myself as a tourist when I travel. I don't want to be labeled as a tourist, because when I hear tourist, I think of somebody with a fanny pack, and they're obviously just hitting all the highlights. They're hitting all the major tourist attractions. I try to go and experience somewhere. I want to have an experience. I'm an experienced traveler when I go to a different community, and I want to eat at the local restaurants, and I want to share in their local flavor and their local culture.
Music is playing. We will take a break. Back with our final few minutes with the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. Stay here. This is Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back with our final few minutes on Kentucky Afield Radio. It's Charlie Baglin, Seth Wheat with the Office of Adventure Tourism. Sometimes people are simply too busy for their own good.
You know, like you said, everyone is so busy now, and I remember the statistic, and I remember hearing about the statistic of how many vacation days go unused every year, and some people don't have the capability to carry those over, and so they're just lost. And that was always alarming to me. I thought, you need to have that balance between work and leisure, and travel is a great way to fill in that time of leisure, and it helps you kind of reset mentally, and it helps you learn new things, and it helps you meet new people, and so it's very important, I think, for people to travel, and I think for kids to travel. And if you've got a free weekend, just hop in the car and you can drive in just a couple of hours and see something totally new.
One thing I like is being able to sit here in my middle 50s and think about Washington, D.C., Florida, Niagara Falls. These are places I went in high school or as a child. And I can look back and say, yeah, I've been there. I've seen this. I've been inside the White House. I've been to the top of Washington Monument. I've seen some of the great things, and I did it as a kid.
Yeah.
I felt like I really had a head start. In defense, a lot of parents are divorced. I don't want to be with my ex-wife, if I had one. I probably would rather go have my vacation getting a root canal somewhere. Ex-wife or root canal?
Well,
root canal. Send me the brochure. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And families aren't really families anymore, maybe the way they once were. Did that make any sense?
It did, sure, yeah.
So it kind of makes it awkward to go on a vacation together.
The definition of family can be different for every single person, and that's great, and we want to offer experiences for anyone that considers themselves a family or not. It doesn't matter. There are so many ways to get out, and it seems to me that we're much more active in groups and clubs and sports teams, and it takes up time year-round now. And there are opportunities to get out as a part of that, So, yeah, there's definitely opportunities in a number of ways and under a number of different umbrellas for you to get out and go somewhere new.
Is camping still fun?
Camping is still a ton of fun. I've always loved to camp, and I'm actually just getting ready to try a new style of camping, hammock camping.
Hammock camping.
It's made of a material similar to what a parachute's made out of.
Okay, I've seen those.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they can compress down into these little bitty sacks, so they're very lightweight. They're very easy to travel with. They're becoming more and more popular, I think, for backpackers, who don't want to carry maybe a full-size tent with them. What I need to buy is a cover, a fly.
A lean-to type thing, yeah.
Exactly, to keep the rain or the dew or whatever else off.
If you want to stay dry, hammock camp with a lean-to. Don't go in a tent because the floor invariably will leak. Yeah, unless you've got a plastic floor, but then you're not backpacking. You're not really out in the wilderness. You probably just go get back in the car.
That's very true.
But if you're in a hammock, you're already off the ground.
Off the ground, yeah.
And if you have a quality lean-to or a fly over you, it's a neat experience. Plus, it gives you a lot of back support.
Yeah.
I used to do this. I had a double size. You could go to the local, the Kmart, Walmart, and get the thing for like $5. It looked like a big fish net. I like the one. They didn't make the ones that you're talking about with the parachute cloth.
Yeah.
At that time, they didn't. But mine's is still made out of net. I think I got it at L.L. Bean.
Nice.
And it wasn't that much, but, buddy, it's like the double-wide version.
Yes, I have that also.
So you can roll over in it.
That's what I was after also.
And not flop out onto the ground.
Yes.
Adventures after dark. Adventures at night.
Yeah.
And I will generally bring this up when you're on the show because it happens once a month. You can go down to Cumberland Falls and see the Cumberland Falls Moonbow.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen it yet?
I have. It took me 2 months to see it. We tried February of 2015, and the weather did not cooperate. So we went right back down in March of 2015, and the weather did cooperate, and we were able to see it. And it was absolutely worth going back even a month later. And if you haven't done it, I can't recommend it enough. It was...
Tell me what you saw.
Very faint rainbow, almost more of a white...
Arch?
Yeah, it was an arch. It was an arch, but it had, the transparency of it. It was almost transparent at certain times. You could see it, and you could see it well, but you couldn't make out the distinct colors with the naked eye. Now, I was there with my girlfriend, and she has a very good camera, and so she was able to take pictures of the moonbow, and what we could see from her pictures was so much better than what we could see just looking at it, and I was very surprised by that.
Did the colors reveal?
Yes, they did. In the photograph, photographs, absolutely you could pick out the colors. You could see the rainbow.
The Cumberland Falls Moonbow. This is the Cumberland River, Cumberland Falls State Resort Park. And this occurs every month with regularity. The moon has to be full, has to be clear.
Has to be clear. You can get a complete calendar or a complete schedule for the year on the Department of Parks website, again, parks.ky.gov. But you can search for the moonbow, and it'll give you not only there's about a 5-day span of dates when the moonbow will be available, but not only do they give you the dates, they also give you the peak viewing times.
Mm-hmm.
So
the hours, like
the hours,
and
exactly.
10 o'clock kind
exactly.
of thing.
So it starts out, say Monday's the first day, the peak viewing time will be from 9 to 10 to 10:30, 11, whatever, and that time will move as the moon and the earth move, and they'll show you, depending on what day you're there, what time you should be there.
When we see a full moon, we look out the window at night and see a full moon, my wife will invariably say, we should have gone down to see the moon. Well, we'll do it again in a month. But we have been down and seen it, and I know what you're saying with the photographs. You can actually see the colors of the rainbow, and it looks like you've taken the picture during the day.
It does. It's amazing.
My advice is take a tripod, have a good long shutter speed. The photograph isn't just a click. A good photograph can take 30 to 45 seconds or longer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Didn't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
The shutter of the camera will stay open that long to absorb the light onto the sensor of the camera. And so if you're there with your cell phone or a flashlight or a laser beam and you're shining it into the falls, you absolutely ruin the shot that somebody's trying to take. Don't use a flash. A flash doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're going to be disappointed in your shot.
Your picture won't come out, nor will anyone else. Is that what you're saying? Got it. Yeah.
Darkness is the key, because you're not taking a picture of the falls as much. Mm-hmm. You're taking a picture of light, and that light is there coming from the moon, a moonbeam, if you will.
Yeah.
And so don't try to ruin it with any other light source. Your website for adventure tourism is
KentuckyTourism.com, and you can find us on the sub-menu from there. That's the easiest way for people to find us.
Seth, thanks a million.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
Every time this gentleman is on the show, I am reminded how glad I am to live in the great state of Kentucky. We are out of time. This is Charlie Bagwin inviting you to join us in a week, and we'll go inside outdoors again here on Kentucky Afield Radio.